Thank you, ma'am. Um, it's the lady. Do you hear the lady's voice when she said recording in progress? Okay.
Yep.
So we're gonna start off. Is there any place that you would like to hang a nail?
I I thought there was. I don't remember where it was, but I'll let you know when we get to it.
Okay. Uh, we're gonna do some jumping today. Um, so let's go ahead and start. Deuteronomy 17 and verse 1. Thou shalt not sacrifice unto Yahweh thy Elohim any bullock or sheep wherein is blemish or any evil favoredness, for that is an abomination unto the Lord thy God. I think that might be my new favorite word, evil favoredness. It's just one long, huge word. Uh, and I highlighted it. Where is it? 17. And defect, literally evil thing. So any evil favoredness translates to literally an evil thing. Okay, so with this, since we no longer offer animal sacrifices, we don't have a temple to do so. What is the modern day understanding of it, or how does this affect us in current times? It still applies to us. No,
How do our not being able to offer sacrifices affect us?
no. How does so it says, "Thou shalt not sacrifice unto the Lord thy God any bullock or sheep wherein there is blemish or any evil favoredness, because that's an abomination." Seeing is in how we can't offer or we don't offer animal sacrifices anymore.
Yeah.
Actually, we can't offer animal sacrifices anymore. How does this apply to us now?
Well, since our sacrifices now are sacrifices of praise, it's our offering of praise. We shouldn't do it half-heartedly. We shouldn't do it with less than our. We shouldn't be unfocused when we're doing it. We shouldn't be doing it with our mind someplace else or thinking about something else. We should give it our whole concentration, our everything. God doesn't want less than all of us, so we should give our everything. At least that's what I was thinking.
I'm inclined to agree with you. Where is it? There's one that I want to go to is Romans 12 and verses 1 through 2. 1 and 2. So Romans 12, 1 and 2. And when you started talking, you reminded me of another one. Give me 1 second. Thank you for alerting me. Um, there it is. Oh, oh, that one's better. So Romans 12, 1 and 2. Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. And it reads, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Elohim. Right? So this is how this affects us now, because this is what our sacrifice is. It's our bodies. We present our bodies as a living sacrifice. So we're supposed to do these things wholeheartedly, right? And just because you said that and it was perfect. Psalm 119 and where did it go? Yeah, Psalm 119. Ooh, starting at verse 9. I didn't even add this to my own notes. Yeah. Psalm 19, 119, starting at verse 9. It reads, Wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed thereto according to thy word. With my whole heart have I sought thee. Oh, let me not wander from thy commandments. Thy word have I hid in mine heart, that I might not sin against thee. So this is, again, this is what we do with our whole heart. And this is how we do it with our whole heart. Now, this is a twofer, because also in this verse, in verse 9, it's asking about how can a young man cleanse his way. Notice it does not say by baptism. It does not say by the washing of the flesh with water. We cleanse our ways by taking heed thereto according to thy word, which is the law, statutes, commandments. From there, let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 15. I don't know about anybody else, but my apocrypha opens up to Sirach. It's like right in the middle of the book. Like every time I open it up, it opens up right around chapter 13. So Sirach or Ecclesiastes chapter 15, verses 11 through 13. Yes. And it reads, say not thou, it is through the Lord that I fell away, for thou oughtest not to do the things that he hated. Say not thou, he hath caused me to err, for he hath no need of the sinful man. The Lord hateth all abomination, and they that fear God love it not. So this is going into with your whole heart. The things that the Most High hate, you hate. The things that he love, you love. So don't say, or you cannot, you can't say that the reason you have fallen into this situation is because the Most High put you. No, not that. You can't say that you have sinned because the Most High has caused you to sin, because the scripture just said he has not caused you to sin. He has not caused you to err because he has no need for the sinful man. So it's not him that has done it. You have done it yourself. So when you're supposed to, this is how we fall into the category of bringing the Most High a blemished sacrifice. This is how we fall into that category. So a blemished sacrifice is when it's time for you to be praying and you thinking about something else. When it's time for you to be studying, when it's time for you to be reading, you doing other things. You completely negating or neglecting what it is that you're supposed to be doing for the Most High. That's how you offer a blemished sacrifice. Another way you can offer blemished sacrifice is when you're supposed to be teaching somebody the word, or if somebody comes to you and asks you for the word and you give it to them in a way that they can't receive it, that's a blemished sacrifice. So somebody comes up to you and they're like, hey, why do you wear the fringes? And you start speaking to that person in Spanish. They don't understand Spanish. You speaking to that person in Spanish. That's a blemished sacrifice because that person doesn't understand what's happening. They don't understand the language. Now you've just completely deterred a person. And this is why we get the scripture that says that if one speaks in tongues and there's no one there to translate or to interpret, that is vanity. Nobody has been edified from that. That's a blemished sacrifice. That's probably a very extreme case, but extreme scenario, but that is a blemished sacrifice. Shabbat shalom, Jania.
Shabbat shalom.
We're on Deuteronomy 17 and verse 2. Actually, we just got back from a few precepts. So okay. Verse 2. So, but anyway, that's an extreme scenario. I don't think that anybody would do that, but if you start talking to somebody in terms where they can't understand what you're saying, that they don't receive the message, that's a blemished sacrifice, because you're supposed to be able to reach people on the level that they are, right? That's why Paul said that I became all things to all men, that I may reach them, because he wasn't offering blemished sacrifices. So verse 2. So verse 2. If there be found among you within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, man or woman, that hath wrought wickedness in the sight of Yahuwah thy Elohim, in transgressing his covenant, and hath gone and served other gods and worshipped them, either the sun or moon or any of the hosts of heaven, which I have not commanded, and it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently, and behold, it be true, and the thing certain that such abomination is wrought in Israel, then shalt thou bring forth that man or that woman which hath committed that wicked thing unto thy gates, even that man or that woman, and shalt stone them with stones till they die. Okay, so like this is, we understand that this is Moses talking to the children of Israel as they are going to possess the land. Moses knows that he's not going to make it there, so he's giving them instructions. These are final instructions. It's the same instructions repeated again, but final instructions before they go into the land. And he's telling them, like, if you find any person who's committing this sin specifically, what sin is he talking about?
That's worshiping idols.
Yes. So Exodus chapter 20, verse, is it 3? Yes, starting at verse 3. So notice what he says in 17 and 2 and 3. I'm sorry, in 3. And have gone and served other gods and worshiped them, either the sun or moon or any of the hosts of heaven, which I have not commanded. Yes, which I have not commanded. So we go to Exodus chapter 20 and verse 3 through 6. We'll do 6. Did I say that? Yeah, Exodus 20 and 3 through 6. And it reads, thou shalt have no other gods before me. This is the first commandment. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water underneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahweh your Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, upon the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So having other Els before the Most High is one way that we can indicate to him that we hate him. Verse 6, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Since we're here in Exodus 32, in Exodus, let's go to chapter 32, and we're going to read verses 7 through 10. And we're going to see one of the first examples of the result of worshiping other gods that happens with the Most High. So Moses says in Deuteronomy 17 that that person shall be stoned to death. Right? If you get caught committing idolatry and it is brought to the judges or to the leaders or to the priest or whoever, and they go and they inquire and diligently seek this thing and find out exactly what happened. And if it's true, that person, man or woman, needs to be brought before the congregation and stoned. Not just stoned a little bit, stoned to death. So where this comes from, where Moses gets this from, where this is established is Exodus chapter 32, verses 7 through 10. And it reads, and Yahweh said unto Moses, go, get thee down, for thy people which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf. There's the graven image. And have worshipped it. There's the worship. And have sacrificed thereunto. There's the serve. That's the service. And said, these be thy gods, O Israel, which have brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And the Yahweh said unto Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Now, therefore, let me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, and that I may consume them, and I will make of thee a great nation. That consume them means totally destroy them. So this is where we see this thing established. If you have another God before the Most High, he does not take lightly to that. He does not take kindly to that. He will not just punish you. He's going to kill you for that. Now, I know some people will see like, well, people do it all the time and he don't kill them now. Just because the Most High ain't killing them don't mean that judgment ain't coming. That's what grace is for. You get the opportunity to get it right. But when that grace runs out, that's it. And we don't know when the clock runs out on grace. Like that would be great for some people to know. Like if you could just look at a jar of sand and they were like, all right, this is my grace jar. Once that jar is empty, I need to be on the up and up and on the right path on my P's and Q's. That would be great for some people to have. But at the same time, we don't have that. So let's go back to Deuteronomy 17 and verse 6. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. But at the mouth of 1 witness he shall not be put to death. So in verse 6, does that only apply to this particular commandment, or does this apply to any commandment that the punishment is death? Shabbat shalom, Yaakov.
Shalom.
We are at Deuteronomy 17 and verse 6.
I thought it was anyone, not just this one.
Absolutely. That applies to any of the commandments that the punishment is death. So breaking the Sabbath, homosexuality, bestiality, any of the sexually immoral sins, which includes rape and things like that. So any of the laws that were including having another god, idolatry, any of the laws that were the punishment was death. If you were worthy of death, if you deserved death, then that was it. All you needed was 2 witnesses or 2 or 3 witnesses. The scripture reads, by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let everything be established, or every decree be established. You have to check me on that. Shabbat shalom, Abby. We are at Deuteronomy 17 and verse 7 now. So yes, that right there, that statement, or that's actually a law.
Thanks.
No problem. That applies to any of those laws where the punishment was death. Verse 7, and it reads, the hands of the witnesses shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterward the hands of all the people, so thou shalt put the evil away from among you. If there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, and between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within thy gates, then shalt thou arise and get thee up into the place which Yahweh thy Elohim, or the Lord thy God, shall choose. And thou shalt come unto the priests, the Levites, and unto the judge that shall be in those days, and inquire, and they shall show thee the sentence of judgment. Now pay attention to these next 2 verses. And I want to ask a question after this. And thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that place which the Lord shall choose shall show thee. And thou shalt observe to do according to all that they inform thee, according to the sentence of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment which they shall tell thee. Thou shalt do. Thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall show thee, to the right hand nor to the left. Okay, this is talking about the priests or the judges or the leaders at the time. Whatever they judge or whatever they determine the sentence or the punishment or the judgment should be, you're not supposed to go against that. Why not?
Is it because that punishment might come to you? The same punishment might come to you?
What do you mean?
What was the question?
If the judge determines whatever the sentence that the judge determines, whatever punishment is supposed to be doled out, why can we not go against the judgment of that person?
Because it's already been determined, your fate.
What do you mean?
I mean, because it's been decided by the people that's been given authority over you, the people that has been put in a position to rule and judge over you, that whatever it is they decide, that's what it is.
Okay, I hear that. I like that. Anyone else?
Because they were chosen by God. They were put in that position by God.
There you go. So whose judgment is it?
God's
It's
judgment.
That's God's judgment. So let's go to the book of John, chapter 7 and verse 24. Yeah. John chapter 7 and verse 24. And it reads, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment, right? So righteous judgment. It's not just by what you see. It's not just by what you hear. It's not just by what it looks like from the outside. You have to judge righteous judgment, right? That righteous judgment is not of our own understanding. That's from the Most High's law, statutes, commandments. That's his judgment. We're just the vessels. We're just the mouthpieces to be able to speak that judgment. So let's go from there. We're going to go back to the Apocrypha. We're going to go 2nd Esdras chapter 7, verses 20 and 21. Second Esdras chapter 7, verses 20 and 21. And just as a side note, I implore everyone to read this entire chapter, because this chapter is crazy. So 2nd Esdras chapter 7, verses 20 and 21. And it reads, for there be many that perish in this life, because they despise the law of God that is set before them. For Elohim have given straight commandment to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. Straight commandment, right? It says, for God hath given straight commandment. If we go back to Deuteronomy 17, verse 11, toward the end of verse 11, it says, thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall show thee, to the right hand, nor to the left. So in the way Esdras says it in the Apocrypha, he says straight commandment. And that's not just straight as in straight and narrow, a straight line. That straight means strict. Like there's no wiggle room to that. There is no, I'm going to, shy this side, or I'm going to shy to this side, or lean to the left or to the right. It's strict. There's no wiggle room. If the Most High says, don't eat pork, that don't mean you can eat pork skin. You can't be like, all right, I'm going to eat these pork rinds. That's not eating the whole thing. I didn't eat the whole thing. I only ate the rinds, right? Just fried skin. That means no pork at all. He says no lobster, no crab, no shrimp, none at all. Like that's none. Like this, you can't go eat crab shell. I'm just gonna eat crab legs. It's not the whole crab. No, none of it. That means none of it. So this is why he says straight commandment. Like it's very strict and it's very straight to the point. What the Most High says, that's what he means. It's black and white. There is no gray area within the commandments. So the way Moses put it is he says, lean not to the, he says, don't go away from the judgment to the right hand nor to the left. There is no wiggle room. If the judgment comes from, let's say a brother or sister steals a loaf of bread, and the judgment from the priest comes back and says, all right, you stole a loaf of bread, you need to return that loaf of bread plus 5 more. And you got to give them a sheep for that and your left shoe, whatever. If that's what is determined to be the judgment for that sin, that's what you have to do. You cannot then turn around and say, all right, look, you stole a loaf. I get it. You know what I mean? It's rough times, it's hard times right now. So instead of giving 6 loaves in return, only give 3 loaves and give me a turtle dove and keep your shoe. You can't do that. You can't do that. You have to give them, you have to give out the judgment or the sentencing, however the priest or the judge determines it to be. Otherwise, what you are doing is not going against that priest, or you're not just going against the priest or the judge at that time. You are going against the Most High. The Most High set that judgment. The Most High delivered that judgment. And if you present anything other than what the Most High have, now you have made yourself a what?
You would have made yourself disobedient to the will of the Most High.
You made yourself disobedient, yes, but you have put now your judgment above the Most High's judgment.
Made yourself a god, an idol.
There you go. That's what it is. You have now made yourself an idol. You have put yourself above the Most High, and nobody can do that. And it's just so, it's not a coincidence, but it's awesome how it worked out. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 17 and verse 12. Now this is awesome how it works out. Deuteronomy 17 and verse 12. And it reads, and the man that will do presumptuously and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to minister before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die, and thou shalt put away the evil from Israel. So if you do presumptuously, meaning you take it upon yourself to change what the priest or what the judge said, that punishment or that judgment, if you change that, let's go back to 2nd Ezra 7, and now we're going to read verse 19. This is why. This is why. If you put yourself above the judgment of the Most High, now you've made yourself a god, you have made yourself an idol, and this is why that is not a good thing. Verse 19. And he said unto me, this is the Most High speaking unto Esdras. He said unto me, there is no judge above God, and none that hath understanding above the highest. This is why you are put to death for that. Because he just said it in verses 2 through 5, in Deuteronomy 17, verses 2 through 5. If you find yourself in idol worship, you put to death. Down here, what we're seeing in 10, 11, and 12 is the same thing. By going against what the priests or the king or the judge's judgment was, you have made yourself an idol, and now that is idol worship, and that person needs to be put to death. Verse 13. And all the people shall hear and fear and do no more presumptuously. So this is why, right? Just like Bob with the sticks and Lot's wife were made examples, this is why. If you do these things, you are made an example to the people so that the people will fear the Most High. To know, like, if I break this commandment by doing just this simple thing and he could kill me, that will keep you on the straight and narrow. That will keep you from wanting to break those commandments. At least it will keep me. We've seen the children of Israel where they like, yeah, he's dangerous, but give me a few minutes. I'm gonna go over here and do something stupid. It should keep you from wanting to break the laws of the Most High. All right, let's go to verse 14. Wait. Sorry. From there, let's go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, and verses 25 through 27. This is the way Solomon puts it. Same concept, but watch how Solomon says it. So Proverbs chapter 4, verses 25 through 27. And it reads, let thine eyes look right on, and let thine eyelids look straight before thee. Ponder the path of thy feet, and let all thy ways be established. Turn not to the right hand, nor to the left hand, nor to the left. Remove thy foot from evil. Hang on one second, guys. Somebody didn't get it. So Proverbs 4, 25 through 27. And it says, let thine eyes look right on, and let thine eyelids look straight before thee. So remember, not to the left hand, nor to the right hand, straight before you. It says, ponder the path of thy feet, and let all thy ways be established. Turn not to the right hand, nor to the left. Remove thy foot from evil. So this is what Solomon says. Solomon is saying the same thing that Moses said Don't, as far as judgment is concerned, don't look to the left, don't go to the right, do exactly what the judge or the priest says. But Solomon is saying it in a way, follow all the commandments, not just what the judge or what the priest says, but follow the commandments of the Most High. Don't go to the left or to the right. I'm going to show you where Solomon got that from. Let's go to Deuteronomy 5, verses 31 and 32. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 31 and 32. It says, but as for thee, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. So this is the Most High speaking to Moses. And he says, ye shall observe to do therefore as the Lord your God hath commanded you. Ye shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. So Solomon, the wisest man to ever exist, had inspiration, and that inspiration was the Most High. So it's not that he just came up with this from anywhere. Shabbat Shalom, Marcus. We are at Deuteronomy 17 and verse 13. And so where Solomon got that from the Most High through Moses, right? So it's coming from the Torah, it's coming from the book of Deuteronomy. And so it's not just in judgment, it's in all of the commandments of the Most High. There is no wiggle room. There is no leeway in the commandments. You either do what the Most High said do, or you're not doing it at all. And I know for some, it's like, well, that's kind of harsh. That's kind of hard. But that's just how the Most High is. He's not he doesn't deal in confusion. This is why the scripture says, lean not to thine own understanding. And there is no private interpretation of the scriptures, right? There's no private interpretation of the scriptures. This is why the Most High says that. It is not just up to you to decide or up to us to decide what it is and what it isn't. No, we need to follow this, how the Most High said do it. Shabbat Shalom, Shalise. I thought that was you. Okay, so let's go back to verse 14. So Deuteronomy 17 and verse 14. When thou art come unto the land which Yahweh thy Elohim giveth thee, and shalt possess it, and shalt dwell therein, and shalt say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom Yahweh thy Elohim shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. Okay. This verse right here is kind of tough. What did I did it. Okay. This was kind of harsh. It's not harsh. This was kind of hard. It's one of those things where it's along the same lines of the thought process for free will, right? Like I have a choice to do whatever I want to do in life, and that's my choice. But in actuality, you only have two choices. Either you're going to follow the Most High or you're not. Everything else is just ancillary. It's not really, you're not really choosing to do these other things. You only have two possible outcomes: follow the Most High or death. That's it. So here, when we see it says in verse 15, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee. Right? So right here, just that sounds like we have a choice of whom we should elect or place above us. But in actuality, we don't. It says, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. If the Most High has already chose that person, we don't have any say so in that matter. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 2. Where is it? 2 in verses 20 and 21. Daniel chapter 2, verses 20 and 21. Daniel chapter 2, verses 20 and 21. And it reads, Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of Elohim forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. and he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. So who sets up kings? It's the Most High. So back in Deuteronomy 17 and verse 15, and he says, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. This is the Most High who sets that king in place. It's not us. What happens if we don't acknowledge the king that the Most High has put in place? You end up like Saul. Because that's exactly what happened. The Most High set David in place. He let David, learn for a while to understand how to be a king. And then when he stepped outside of his boundaries and the Most High took the kingdom from Saul, and then he told the prophet told Saul, look, David is the next king. You need to remove yourself. And Saul was like kind of fighting that and going against it. I don't want to leave. I don't want to turn down my kingdom. And then he ended up being killed, and he ended up being cursed. His kids, his sons got killed. Mom, you're talking and we can't hear you.
But the Most High chose Saul.
The Most High did choose Saul. Absolutely. Yes, I'm not saying that that's not the case. The Most High definitely put Saul in place. Yes. But when the Most High puts the king in place, if you don't that's a great example. Even Saul being chosen as king has to accept when the Most High chooses another king to take his place. So when Saul did not accept that, because the Most High had already placed David as king, that was it. Dude, your job is done. You messed up, get out. When Saul didn't accept that, then he had to succumb to the punishment that came after that. So it's not us. And the way that it's written right here, it sounds like, and it reads like, you can only put a king over you, one that, that's a good person, the one of your brethren, not a stranger. That's not just what he's saying. The Most High is saying, I'm going to give you a king of my choosing, and it's up to you to acknowledge him and treat him and respect him as king. He's already going to be king. I'm putting him in place. You can't stop that. You can't stop that law. So verse 16. I'm sorry, verse 15. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. So that stranger right there, what stranger is that?
Someone who wasn't from the same area.
Is this someone not from the same area, or is this another kind of stranger? So you're saying, and just so I understand, you're saying a stranger being, it could possibly be an Israelite from another place, say like from Moab or from wherever. It's still an Israelite, just not from that place. Okay. So does anyone agree or disagree with Celise?
I disagree. I think it's a non-Israelite. You shouldn't let a set of non-Israelite over you.
Okay. Anyone else? Shabbat Shalom, Cynthia.
I'm gonna straddle the fence.
You going straight? You can't straddle the
I
fence.
can too. I can straddle the fence. It's my
What do you
choice.
mean?
I straddle the fence. I agree with Celise, but one, a stranger who's not even of your kin, they're not even an Israelite, because that wouldn't make sense, because they don't even know you, so they can't rightfully rule his kingdom. And then I say not necessarily a stranger that's not from the same land, because David was the king. He was the king of Israel. He was the king, period, of all. So that meant he was in all parts of the 12 tribes. He ruled that. So I say a stranger who is not of the fold. Like, you have those people that are put out the camp. If they're found to be like wickedness, they're not allowed to be in the side of the gates with the other people. Mm-hmm. So I say like a stranger for those those Israelites who are not of who do not believe and honor and worship the Most High and his laws and statutes. They're a stranger. He doesn't know them.
Okay. I can go with that. So twofold. I agree with you on that one. Twofold. A stranger meaning not a heathen, not someone. Obviously, this is not another. We will never put a king. We should never put a king over us that's from another nation of people. Absolutely right. And also, we should not set a stranger over us, meaning an Israelite who is not keeping the commandments. So it's not necessarily a stranger from another camp, but it's a stranger as in someone who is, you're an Israelite, but you're not keeping the commandments. You can't put that kind of person over you. And that gets explained in the next couple verses. But before we move on, how does this apply to us now? Yes, you knew it was coming. How does this apply to us now?
Oh, this is so hard for some people in certain generations because they believe that our forefathers died for the right for us to vote, but that's not true. So a stranger. So even in these elections, when you vote for Obama, like I voted for Obama, y'all forgive me, but
Same.
I also voted for his ideals. I went along with what he thought, like he is for homosexuality. I put my vote in, I cast it for him. So I aligned myself with his thoughts, his ways, his actions. So you shouldn't be voting for, even in the elections now, today, like these are not our people. These are not our ideas. These are not the way that the Most High functions. So if you're voting in the elections, you're voting against what the Most High believes.
Absolutely. Anyone else want to add to that?
I'm not even gonna say straddling the fence because I'm not. But at the same time, this is not our land. And whoever is king over our land wouldn't be just king over our people. So I feel like part of me wants to vote because our ancestors fought and died for the privilege. And then there's the part of me who says this is not our land and these are not our people. So I shouldn't have any say in who rules it. But isn't a non-vote a vote? So yeah, I know how I feel and I know what I do, but I'm just saying in my head, isn't a non-vote a vote?
That's what they say. That's what they say. Trump said that. He said, if you don't vote for me, that's a vote for whatever, for Biden. Like it's great. Or it was Biden. Biden said, if you don't vote for me, that's a vote for Trump. That's what they say. A non-vote is a vote, right? But think about this. We're in captivity. We're absolutely in captivity. Think about during the time of Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar. Did we appoint Nebuchadnezzar? Did we appoint Nebuchadnezzar the first, the second, or the third? No. Did we appoint Xerxes or Artaxerxes? No, we did not appoint any of those people. That was not our customs. We had absolutely no say-so in their government or in their politics. If you're in captivity, you don't have a say-so in how we run things here. So when you go out and you vote, like Jania said, you align yourself to that person and their beliefs. If you do that, matter of fact, this is a perfect segue to go on into verse 16. The person that you set above you as king. Verse 16. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he shall multiply horses. For as much as Yahweh hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply himself silver and gold. And it shall be when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests of the Levites. Now let's stop. We're going to go back. But he shall, verse 16, but he shall not multiply horses to himself. How does that apply to us now?
Military power.
Military power. Right? So the person that we set above us as king shall not multiply military power unto himself. I believe every president has done that. It's not even including the other countries. In this country, in America, every president, under every every office, every presidential office, each time the military grows. The military gets larger, it expands. Trump expanded a whole new branch of military when he was president. He added in the Space Force. So every time a president comes in, the military grows, or the police force grows, or law enforcement in general grows, right? So that right there, that's a strike. It says, nor cause the people to return to Egypt. What are we talking about?
Put them in, enslave them in some way, put them in some kind of bondage, whether it's tax bondage or some other kind of bondage.
This is one of those twofold, because remember, we ain't that far from Egypt at this point, physically, literally, geographically. We're not that far from Egypt. So he's saying that this king that you want to set above you in the land, he cannot take you back to the land of Egypt. Because remember, not that long ago, there was murmuring during the time they wanted to set up captains or elevate people to lead them literally back to Egypt. That was in the book of Numbers. Where is one of the times that they were complaining and murmuring? Numbers chapter 14. Yeah. Let me get that right there. So Numbers chapter 14, and we'll go verses 1 through 4. And it reads, and all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, and the whole congregation said unto them, would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in this wilderness? And wherefore hath the Lord brought us unto this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return into Egypt? Verse 4, and they said one to another, let us make a captain and let us return into Egypt. So literally at this point, they wanted to physically walk back or turn around and go back to the land of Egypt. So this verse that we see in 17 and 16, it's twofold. That part of it is twofold. Physically go back to the land of Egypt, and also spiritually, don't turn us back into slavery or send us back into bondage. Like you can't be a king and then join with another kingdom in concert to get us back into bondage, right? And then it says, to the end that he should multiply horses. So multiply his military again. For as much as Yahuwah had said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself. Okay. How many wives are we allowed to have? I'm sorry, are men allowed to have? I don't want nobody to get confused. How many wives are men allowed to have according to the scripture? Meaning you being in matrimony or bound to. One wife. We're allowed to have one wife. So this word here, it says wives. What else could they be talking about? What else is considered a wife?
Concubine, a woman servant.
Concubines, maidservants, your mistress, right? So think about in the terms of not Abraham, what's his name? Jacob. Jacob's wife was Leah. That's the one whom Jacob went through the marriage ceremony for. He wanted Rachel, but her father gave him Leah. So Leah was his wife. That's the one that he signed, that the covenant was made with. It was made with Leah, the marriage covenant. That's the one who they snuck in his tent that he laid down with, and that was his wife. He worked for Rachel, but Rachel wasn't his wife. Rachel was then his, you can call her a concubine or whatever. But that word wife just means woman. It just means one who belongs to you. So Rachel, whom he wanted, she wasn't his wife, meaning legally bound, or they had the covenant, the contract signed, and that's who was the wife of Jacob. She was his concubine. He loved her. He loved her a lot. But okay, let's see these faces. Let's go to the verse. The man who desires the office of a bishop. First Timothy 3:1. First Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1. This is it. First Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1. We'll start at verse 1. And it reads, "This is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach, not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous." And then he goes on and on and on and on. He's the husband of one wife. It's one wife. Every man is supposed to have one wife. Adam had Eve, right? Now I'm not out here abdicating for brothers having a wife and mistresses, and I'm not saying that at all. That's not what nowadays we cannot do that. We cannot provide for that many women. That's not something that we should be striving to do. We're still in captivity. Shouldn't be doing that. So we're supposed to have one wife. Every man has one wife. So in the context where we are in Deuteronomy 17, they're saying he's not supposed to multiply wives to himself. It's not just talking about having his wife, and I don't want to say his main piece. He's not supposed to have not just his wife, but he's not supposed to have his job, his position as king, and multiply women to himself. This is not what he's supposed to do. We read also this in the book of Nehemiah, when Nehemiah was talking to those Jews, those Israelites, about having strange wives. He's like, you're not supposed to have all these women. Isn't this what Solomon did? Isn't this not how Solomon sinned? By having all these strange women and strange wives? You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to have multiple wives. It's only supposed to be one. So what we're talking about in Deuteronomy 17, they should not have a wife and then have all these concubines and all these other women. It's not supposed to do that. But as far as how we see it now, we can count the presidents that had, Marilyn Monroe was like the most famous concubine I've ever seen or I've ever heard of in my life. Kennedy had Marilyn Monroe and his wife, Jackie Onassis, Jacqueline Kennedy, that was her name. He had his wife and then Marilyn Monroe. That's multiplying wives unto yourself. That's what it means to multiply wives. So we know that we should not do that. That's not something that we should do. So if you appoint a king over you, your king is supposed to have one wife. King, leader, bishop, that's all the same thing. You got to be a husband of one wife. This is how it's supposed to be. And I know what you're going to say. Well, David had Bathsheba and Abigail. Yes. Solomon and a few. Yeah. Solomon had, it was 400 concubines, some ungodly number. I know, but that's not how it was supposed to be said. That's not what the goal was. These women were not their wives. They had one wife. You're not supposed to multiply all these wives to yourself, because that having multiple wives, I don't understand how any man could do that. Having one wife is a job in and of itself. I cannot imagine having 3 of them. No one man can stay sane. I'm not saying that y'all are a lot to deal with, but one of you is enough. I'm just being honest. One is enough. So that's not something that we should do. So in regards to now, voting is not something that we're supposed to do, because we're not supposed to vote a person of another nation over us. You're not supposed to vote a person of another nation over us. That's not how we're supposed to be, whether it be in captivity or whether it be in our kingdom. It's in our kingdom, it's obvious. It's our kingdom. If you put somebody else of another nation over your kingdom, that is no longer your kingdom. Whatever nation they are, that's their kingdom. We're not supposed to put a person of another nation over us in our kingdom or in captivity. You have no say-so in that. Also, that person that you put over you should not multiply military to themselves. We've seen that time and time again. They should not multiply. They should not cause the people to return to Egypt, whether physically or spiritually, meaning through bondage. We're still in captivity to this day. So no president has released us from this bondage. So we're still here. This is why the Most High said that nobody will be able to do this, but when we get to Deuteronomy 28, we'll see that. Nobody can deliver you. There's no person who can deliver you out of this bond service other than Yahushua and the Most High. That's it. So once you're in this captivity, you here until the Most High brings you out. So nobody has released us from this captivity. And then he says, you shall not multiply wives themselves. And we can see there have been a handful, more than a handful. Let's just be honest. Back during the times of slavery, back then when we were still in slavery here, physical, chattel slavery, those presidents, Abraham Lincoln, Ben Franklin, George Washington, all of them, they had, it's not even funny. They would have their own wife that was taking photos with them, but then they were also sleeping with slaves. They had other mistresses and concubines. Let's not pretend that they weren't doing that. So this is something that our king that we appoint over us should not do. So now in this day and time, we should not be voting. We should not be electing these officials, because for those of y'all who missed it, Jania made a great point. If you appoint this person over you, that means you align yourself with their ideals and their beliefs. And if their ideals and beliefs don't line up with the Most High's, now yours don't align with the Most High. So where do we stop? We stopped at 17, 18. I'm sorry, we did 18. Did we? Oh yeah, so verse 18. And it shall be, when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests, the Levites. I've never seen a president or a senator or a congressman do that. Congressman or woman, whatever. I've never seen one of them sit down and take the book of the law and write it out of the priest book. That is not a thing. Verse 19. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God. Now that right there is that's something that you have to know right here. This solidifies the point that it cannot be a person of another nation, because he says that he shall write it, that he may learn to fear Yahuwah his Elohim. The Most High is only the God of what people? Children of Israel. He is not the God of these other people. So if this were a heathen, he could not be their Elohim. He cannot be their God. So to keep all the words of this law and these statutes, to do them, that his heart be not lifted up above his brethren, and that he turn not aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children in the midst of Israel. That's the end of chapter 17. But we see that the king, he has to keep, there's certain things that a king has to do. There are caveats to this. When we get into our own land and we appoint a king, yes, it is going to be a king that the Most High chooses. But this king, even though the Most High chooses him, has some things that he needs to abide by. If your king ain't lining up with that, the prophets need to come up and be like, all right, it's time for you to go. You put a good forth effort. You put forth a good effort. You tried. So are there any questions about chapter 17? All right, we headed into 18. Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 1. The priests, the Levites, and all the tribe of Levi shall have no part nor inheritance with Israel. They shall eat the offerings of Yahuwah made by fire and his inheritance. Therefore shall they have no inheritance among their brethren. The Lord is their inheritance. Hang on one second. The Lord is their inheritance. Where'd it go? As he hath said unto them, and this shall be the priest's due from the people, from them that offer a sacrifice, whether it be ox or sheep, and they shall give unto the priest the shoulder and the two cheeks and the maw. The two cheeks is literally talking about the jaws, right? So face meat, and the maw is from the stomach. This is the first fruit also of thy corn, of thy wine, and of thine oil, and the first of the fleece of thy sheep shalt thou give him. For Yahuwah thy Elohim hath chosen him out of all thy tribes to stand to minister in the name of the Lord, him and his sons forever. All right. So we see this is something that we've already gone through before, that the priests, because they don't work, they don't have a job, they're not farmers like everyone else, they don't have a specific skill set other than the job and the service of the temple. Their food and everything that's provided for them comes from the people. So the sacrifices that we were making to the Most High, the Levites and the priests got portions of that. And it even goes as far as to say, like, the fleece of that sheep. So when you're bringing them wool, like, you would give some of the wool to the Levites that they would in turn make clothes out of. And I guess they would also sell some of it for, money to help with the temple, but also they would make clothes out of it. Verse 6. And if a Levite come from any of thy gates out of all Israel, where he sojourned, and come with all the desire of his mind unto the place which Yahuwah shall choose, then he shall minister in the name of the Lord his God, as all his brethren the Levites do, which stand there before the Lord. Okay, so somebody break that down real quick. What does that mean? Verses 6 and 7.
If you got a fellow brother from somewhere else, it should be an open door policy that he should be able to serve in the temple, serving his God, because this God is your God. He should be welcome into the temple to serve as a priest.
Okay, anybody agree or disagree, or anybody have anything else to add?
Is that kind of like the example of Moshe's father-in-law?
Nailed it. You nailed it. So now here it is. We know what tribe. It just nailed it down. Like, and this kind of blew my mind. This nails down which tribe, Jethro was from. Why? Because remember what happened when Jethro came. Jethro went up and he immediately did the priest's duties. Even though this is before the priest, the Levites were established as a priest, he came up and he did the priest's duties, right? And here it is. We see it right here. It says that if a Levite come from somewhere else, from outside of your gates, meaning he's not within your camp, but we know he's a Levite. If he comes to your camp and his mind and his desire is to the place where the Most High choose to put his name. So in the temple, in the land where the Most High gave, that he's talking about in Jerusalem, where the Most High planned to, well, not even in Jerusalem, this is talking about the temple in specific. In this place where the Most High shall choose, it says, then he shall minister in the name of Yahuwah. Again, we see this adjective, his God. So, right, this is not just anybody. So this is definitely a Levite who's coming to minister to the Most High in the temple, just like Jethro did. And he says, where'd it go? As all his brethren, the Levites, do, which stand there before Yahuwah. So this is Jethro. Jania, that was a great point. That was way to go. And likewise, Yaakov, y'all were both right on. So this is an example. This is what Jethro was. Jethro was a Levite. Verse 7. Then he shall minister verse 8. They shall have like portions to eat, beside that which cometh of the sale of his patrimony, and that means his inheritance. So this is why Jethro was able to eat with Moses, he was able to offer those sacrifices, which means that they sacrificed it, they burned it, they cooked it, and they ate it. That he was able to offer that sacrifice in front of Moses and Aaron and all the other priests at that time. This is why he was able to do that, because Jethro himself was a Levite. Verse 9, when thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahweh. And because of these abominations, Yahweh your Elohim doth drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with Yahweh thy Elohim. For these nations which thou shalt possess hearkened unto observers of times and unto diviners. But as for thee, the Lord thy God hath not suffered thee so to do. So right here, what we are seeing is we're not supposed to spells, magic, consulting with spirits, you can call those psychics, diviners, wizards, warlocks, all that. We are not supposed to dabble in those things. We are not supposed to blade. We're not supposed to play there. I don't know any other way else to put it. You're not supposed to do this. The Most High said these are the things that these other nations did. So it is a possibility. So for anyone who had the question in their heart, is voodoo real? Was that Sancta Maria, whatever? Is that stuff real? Is black magic? When you see people like Chris Angel and they doing all that crazy, if you ever thought psychics and all of that, is that stuff real? That stuff is real. These are the things that the other nations do, but we are not supposed to do that. We are not supposed to play there. So if you find yourself continually dealing with spirits and they are talking to you and telling you things, and you need to check yourself, because you have opened yourself up to something that you should not be involved in. The Most High said that we do not do this, and he said in verse 14, he says, the Lord thy God hath not suffered thee so to do. That's not something you're supposed to do. That is not a burden that you're supposed to carry. Verse 15. Did I miss? No. Verse 15. Yahweh your Elohim will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me, unto him ye shall hearken. According to all that thou that thou desirest of the Lord thy God in Horeb, in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahweh my Elohim, neither let me see this great fire anymore, that I die not. And Yahweh said unto me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. All right, let's do some digging. Verses 15, 18, and 19. Who is this prophet that Moses is speaking about?
Is he speaking of Joshua?
Is he speaking of Joshua?
Well, he says, Yahuwah, your Elohim shall raise up for you a Nabi like me from your midst, from your brothers. Listen to him. So we know that Joshua is to take over and they go into the new land, and where Moses cannot.
So, okay, so is it Joshua? Let's jump to the book of Acts. Excuse me. Let's jump to the book of Acts, chapter 3, and verses 20 through 23. So the book of Acts, chapter 3, verses 20 through 23. And it reads, and he shall send Jesus Christ, or Yahushua HaMashiach, which before was preached unto you, whom the heaven must receive until the times of restitution of all things, which Elohim had spoken by the mouth of all his holy prophets since the world began. For Moses truly said unto the fathers, a prophet shall Yahuwah your Elohim, shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. And it shall come to pass that every soul which will not hear that prophet shall be destroyed from among the people. So are we talking about Joshua?
No, I guess you're talking about Yahusha.
We're talking about Yahushua HaMashiach. Now, what we need to understand is the comparison. Moses says, a prophet after me. What is he trying to reference? What is it that Moses is referencing when he says a prophet like me?
Well, Yahusha is supposed to do the same thing that Moshe did the first time around, deliverance. So he freed his people from bondage. He took them out of Egypt, out of those things. And if you look at Yahusha, he's salvation. He's do the same thing. Through him is deliverance.
Yes. So that's one. Let's go to Exodus. There's another way. Exodus 33 and verse 11. This is something that the Most High only did with Moses. So yes, in the regards of deliverance for the people, because that wasn't a thing before Moses. Well, Moses brought deliverance, right? He brought them out of the land of Egypt, literally, and he gave them the laws so they can follow.
But he only spoke to Moses face to face, right?
I mean, he spoke to Yahusha face to face too.
That's exactly. So this is what Moses is making reference to. So Exodus chapter 33 in verse 11. Right? And it reads, and Yahuwah spake unto Moses face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friend. And he turned again into the camp, but his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, departed not out of the tabernacle. So this is what Moses is talking about. A prophet like me. The Most High spoke to me face to face. The Most High spoke to me in clear sayings. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about what he said to me. This is how the Most High speaks to Christ. This is how he spoke to Yahushua, face to face, clear sayings. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's a verse that actually says that the Most High doesn't talk to any other prophet the way that he speaks to Moses, except for he's talking about Yahushua. So when we see that in Deuteronomy 18 and where do we stop? 15. So 15, 18, and 19, we're talking about Yahushua. Let's go from there to John chapter 5. John chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 16, 42, and 43. John chapter 5, verses 16, 42, and 43. So we know who Moses was talking about when he says that a prophet like me. So he's going to lead you, and him you shall hear. Him you shall hear. Let's reiterate. Verse 8. So Deuteronomy 18 and 18. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren. And notice, I just paid attention to this myself. Prophet there in that verse is capital P. So that's somebody special. That's somebody specific. From among their brethren, like unto thee. And will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. Meaning that's the judgment that you're going to get. He told you what you were supposed to do and you didn't do it. So this is what the Most High is requiring of you. This is the judgment that comes on you. So John chapter 5 and verse 16. And therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus, or Yahushua, and sought to slay him because he had done these things on the Sabbath day. Right? So we're talking about Jesus. This is what had happened. He healed the man on the Sabbath day, and they were complaining. The man that he healed went to, the the Jews, the Pharisees, and some other people went to that man and was like, who healed you? Why are you carrying a bed on the Sabbath day? And he finally comes out and he tells them, like, Jesus did it. So now they're chasing after Jesus. Let's go to verse 42. Everything in between verses 17 and 41, this is the conversation that Christ is having with these Israelites, with these Jews, telling him, like, why are you persecuting me for doing this on the Sabbath day? Why are you chasing after me? And he's explaining to them why this is okay. And he's explaining to them everything that's happened. He's talking about John the Baptist. He's talking about other works. He's talking about the Most High. He's talking about the scriptures. When we get to verse 42, he says, but I know you, that ye have not the love of Elohim in you. I am come in my Father's name, and ye receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him ye will receive. What does these two verses mean? What does this mean? What is Christ, or what is Yahushua talking about to these other Jews? Excuse me. There it is. Okay.
It's okay. I'm trying to put it in words.
Okay.
But I know you, but you do not have the love of Elohim in you. You do not have his words. You do not have his laws, his statutes, his commandments, which is his love. You don't have that in you. You do contrary to what his laws say. But if another comes in my Father's name, so if another comes in preaching and professing that they walk upright before Yahuwah, they follow this, they do that, you'll receive him, but you won't receive me, one who is actually walking in his love, his laws, his statutes, his commandments that deliver his correction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, that's a good start. That's great. That's great. I'm not knocking that. That's great. Anyone else want to add to it?
Okay, ask the question again.
All I was saying was, can anyone explain these two verses, 42 and 43? And Jania did a fantastic job, by the way. There is no prize. So even if you give a really good answer, there is no prize. That means that if you give a wrong answer, there is no punishment. So it's okay.
Okay, so he's saying when he says that you have, I know you that you have in the love, that means they're not keeping the law, statutes, and commandments.
Mhm.
So when he says, I come in my Father's name, he comes at the Father's will, with his authority and his power, and at the request with a mutual covenant between him and the Father. So and he's saying if and they don't believe him, you know, even with all the power and authority that he had from the Father. If somebody else come and they follow false Christ and antichrist and whoever come and they don't have any of that power, they don't have the will of God, but people believe them, and they're not saying they came from God, or even they are. But yeah, I probably didn't explain that quite the way I was thinking it in my mind, but yeah, that's it.
No, that was really good. I caught it. I understand what you're saying. I caught it. Yes, that's really good, and I agree with that too. Anyone else? Okay, so before we continue on, let's jump back. Same chapter. Let's go to verse 18. Therefore, the Jews sought the more to kill him, because he not only had broken the Sabbath, but said also that Elohim was his father, making himself equal with Elohim. This is what they thought. So they were wrong about him breaking the Sabbath. And so they were also wrong about him trying to make himself equal with the Most High. He's definitely not saying that he's equal with the Most High. He never did he say that. So when we get over here to verse 42, he says, but I know you, that ye have not the love of Elohim in you. You're absolutely right in saying that they are not keeping the law, statutes, commandments. Because I know you, I've seen you, I know what you guys are doing. You are not keeping the love of the Most High in you. You're not keeping the commandments. Then he says, I am come in my Father's name. He's not literally talking about the name of Yahuwah. He's not talking about that. He's not saying that I am coming to you as Yahusha. Why is it that how do we know that he's not talking to them, literally talking about his name?
Because he's coming in the name of his Father. He's coming to say what his Father wants him to say to the people. He's coming to say what this Father would say to them. This is what he's saying, not anything else.
You're right. I agree with you. How do we know that? How do we know that he's not literally talking about the names of him or his Father? How do we know that he's not talking about the name literally?
Because he said he's the Son.
What do you mean?
He says he is the Son of the Most High. He never claimed to be the Most High.
Right. Right. So how do we know that that the conversation does not pertain to names?
Because the name won't be given until he comes back.
Not that.
No.
I think you guys are thinking too hard. You're thinking like way too deep. Do these people know who they're having a conversation with?
No, they don't.
They don't know who they're talking to?
Apparently, they think he's God himself, but they must not know.
No, it's not that they think he's God himself. They're angry at him because from what they thought that he was making himself equal with the Most High. So that's why they're angry at him. They're not saying that he thinks he's God. They're not saying that they think he's God. They are mad at him because they think that he thinks he's God.
Right, right.
So it's not that they don't know who they're talking to. Because remember, let's go up verse 15. So 1:5, verse 15. So after the Pharisees and these other Jews were talking to this man, in verse 15 it says, the man departed and told the Jews that it was Jesus which had made him whole. Verse 16, and therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus and sought to slay him because he had done these things on the Sabbath day. They know exactly who this is. They know his name. They know who his mama and daddy are. They know who they're talking to. This is a conversation between Yahusha or Jesus and these other Jews who are angry at him. They know who they're talking to. So when he tells them, I came to you in my Father's name, he's not talking about, I came to you as Yahusha, the son of Yahuwah. No, he's like, you guys know exactly who I am. When I say that I came to you in my Father's name, it's a comparison to the verse above talking about the love of Elohim. Because when you come to someone in the name of the Father, I'm coming to you as a brother. I'm coming to you as a sister. I'm coming to you with the love of the Most High. This is how I'm coming to you. When he says in the name of the Father, that's what he's talking about. Because at this point, Christ is, he's somewhere in Jerusalem. He's somewhere near that area. So he's talking to Jews and Israelites who know the name of the Father. They know his name. They know the name of his earthly father. So he's not trying to confound them in that manner. He's telling them, I came to you in love. I came to you with the laws and commandments. I didn't bring you anything that wasn't mine. What did I tell you that I lied about? What did I say to you that was outside of the law, statutes, commandments, and Most High? That's what it means to come to somebody in his Father's name. I'm representing him. I only say what he says. Matter of fact, we can go down in verse 19, and he says just that. Then answered Yahushua and said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he seeth the Father do. For what things soever he doeth, these also doeth the Son likewise. 20, for the Father loveth the Son, and showeth him all things that himself doeth, and he will show him greater works than these, that ye may marvel. For as the Father raiseth up the dead and quickeneth them, even so the Son quickeneth whom he will. In that verse, the dead that he's comparing what the Most High does, the dead is talking about the lost children of Israel. Those of you who are not keeping the law, statutes, commandments, I'm raising you up too, because you are dead. So when you get to verse 43, he says, I come in my Father's name. I'm doing what the Most High told me to do. I'm coming on his behalf. I'm coming with the love of the Father. And he says, and ye receive me not. Remember why they're persecuting him. They said he broke the Sabbath, and that he compared himself, saying that he was Elohim, that he was God. He made themselves equal. This is what they didn't receive. They're not receiving the teaching. They're not receiving what he's doing. They are not receiving what the Most High gave him to give to them. And then he says, if another shall come in his own name, this person is bringing you something that is not from the Most High. This is what my mother was saying when she's talking about the false Christ and the false prophets. They're bringing you something that is not from the Most High. They're not coming in his name. They're coming in their own name, bringing you their own philosophy and their own doctrine. This is what you will receive. He says, if another shall come in his own name, him ye will receive. You'll accept that. You'll follow this other doctrine. You'll go astray and follow whatever this other person says, but you won't follow what I'm telling you. I'm bringing to you from the Most High, from my Father. This is what he's talking about in Matthew 5 and 43. 42 and 43. The conversation is not about the names, because these people know the names. The children of Israel have known the name of the Most High for a long time at this point, for centuries at this point. They've known the name. So this is nothing new to them. These are people that they know. Yahusha is down here with people he knows. I've seen you. You guys know who I am. We can go to the scripture where, matter of fact, let's do it. Yeah. John chapter 6 and verse 42. So we know exactly that they knew who it was. We'll start at verse 41. So John 6:41, it says, the Jews then murmured at him because he said, I am the bread which came down from heaven. And they said, is not this Jesus or Yahusha, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How is it then that he saith, I came down from heaven? So they know him, they know his father, they know his mother. So it's not the question as they don't know who they're talking to. They know everything about him. The conversation is you guys are not receiving that which the Most High is bringing to you. So when we get to, so let's go back to Deuteronomy 18 and verse 18 and 19. It says, and I will raise up a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth. I'm talking about Yahusha. And he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. So that speak in my name, they talking about he's bringing it to you on my behalf. You guys already said, don't talk to us no more. Talk to Moses, tell him what to say, and then he'll tell us what to say. That way we won't die. So Yahusha came in the exact same way. The Most High talked to him. He delivered it to us so that because we were terrified to talk directly to the Most High, that whatever he said to do, that is what we were supposed to do. Are you guys clear on that? You guys understand that? No, that was kind of a lot. Anybody have any questions about that part, 18 and 19? Okay. So back to Deuteronomy 18, verse 20. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. If thou shalt say in thine heart, how shall we know the word which Yahweh have not spoken? When a prophet speaketh in the name of Yahweh, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which Yahweh hath not spoken. But the prophet hath spoken it presumptuously. Thou shalt not be afraid of him. Now, verse 22 is this is one of those things where you see it where it's not necessarily all of what the verse said, but you got to read and pay attention to what was not said. At the end of it, and it says, thou shalt not be afraid of him. What does that mean? If you shouldn't be afraid of the prophet that prophesies falsely, what does that say about real prophets?
You better do it and be afraid if you don't.
You better be afraid. For this exact reason, it's for this reason right here, why the prophets of old had access to the kings directly. It was for this reason why the children of Israel killed off the prophets. Why? Because they were terrified of them. Think about Elijah and the bears. All they did was talk about his head. Look at you, old baldy head. And he called bears to come out of the woods and maul those kids, those young people, and kill them. This is why they were to be afraid of the prophets. This is why the prophets were given so much reverence in the community and in the nation, because this person is speaking the words on behalf of the Most High. And if you mess with him or her, because there were prophetesses, whatever the plural of prophetess is, if you spoke ill of that person, of that prophet, that was it. You could be put to death. Not could be, you would be put to death. So when you see people nowadays in the church scene and they claim, oh, this is prophet such and such, or prophetess such and such, you need to come out and hear word. No. People were terrified to look up and see the prophets walking into you like, dude, wait a minute, what is Nathan doing here? What has happened? Because usually when they came, it wasn't a good thing. So when somebody's like, hey, come run and go see the prophet, like, nah, that ain't a prophet. The prophets did not, no, they were not bringing you good tidings. Usually when a prophet came, it was because you messed up and the Most High is about to kill you or 10,000 of your people. you need to fix this. But it was good to see a prophet come in because you know that there was an opportunity for you to change and for you to fix it, for you to get right, for you to offer some sacrifice, or for you to repent. That's why the story of Nineveh is so powerful, because for all intents and purposes, the Most High was going to destroy Nineveh. He told Jonah, go and tell Nineveh that in a few days, I'm going to destroy that place. But he said, if they don't change. So they had the opportunity to change and to repent so that they wouldn't be destroyed. But usually you don't see anybody in the scripture, hey, let's go hang out at the prophet's house. No, that's not a thing. So that's the end of 18. Does anybody have any questions about 18? Okay, let's go into 19. Deuteronomy chapter 19 and verse 1. When Yahuwah thy Elohim hath cut off the nations, whose land the Lord thy God giveth thee, and thou succeedest them and dwellest in their cities and in their houses, thou shalt separate 3 cities for thee in the midst of thy land, which Yahuwah thy Elohim giveth thee to possess it. Thou shalt prepare thee a way and divide the coasts of thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee to inherit, into 3 parts, that every slayer may flee there. Now, we went over this part about the slayer fleeing into the cities for their safety. And I don't think we need to go over it again, but if we do, let me know and we'll revisit it. We'll hash this out. Verse 3. Sorry, wait, where did I stop? Verse 4. And this is the case of the slayer, which shall flee thither, that he may live. Whoso killeth his neighbor ignorantly, whom he hateth not in time past, as when a man goeth into the wood with his neighbor to hew wood, and his hand fetcheth a stroke with the axe to cut down the tree, and the head slippeth from the helve, and lighteth upon his neighbor, that he die. He shall flee unto one of those cities and live, lest the avenger of the blood pursue the slayer while his heart is hot, and overtake him, because the way is long, and slay him, whereas he was not worthy of death, inasmuch as he hated him not in time past. Okay, this right here, this is the reason for the cities, for the person who slay a man to flee to for safety. So if you kill someone accidentally, you didn't hate that person, it wasn't out of malice or anything like that, it was legitimately an accident, you kill that person. The law states that if the next of kin, the pursuer of blood, finds out about this, he has right to kill that person who kills your next of kin, whether it's an accident or whatever. So if he catch you out there, or if she catch you out there in the wilderness or somewhere not inside this city of the slayer, then they can kill you, rightly so. But if it was a legitimate accident, if you make it to that city, now you have a place where you can have a trial and you can speak your piece and explain to that person that it was an accident. This is where we get the system of court from. I bet y'all didn't know that, because I didn't either. This is where the system of going to court comes from. If a person is found guilty of something, you have a chance to go to court to plead your case, to explain what happened. If it comes to light, oh, that was an accident. You didn't really hate my people. You didn't hate my brother or sister. That was an accident. That person is forgiven and they move on. But if it was found like, no, you did that out of malice or maliciously, no, you need to be put to death. This is where the system of court comes from. We're going to a neutral place, or a place where the matter can be heard. Verse 7. Wherefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt separate 3 cities for thee. And if Yahuwah thy Elohim enlarge thy coast, as he hath sworn unto thy fathers, and give thee all the land which he promised to give unto thy fathers, and thou shalt keep all these commandments to do them, which I command thee this day, to love Yahuwah thy Elohim, and to walk ever in his ways, then shalt thou add 3 cities more for thee, beside these 3. Moses is hilarious. He's continuously reminding us to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. And he just kind of sprinkles that in there like everywhere. Verse 10. That innocent blood be not shed in thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance, and so blood be upon thee. But if any man hate his neighbor and lie in wait for him and rise up against him and smite him mortally that he die and fleeth into one of these cities, then the elders of his city shall send and fetch him thence and deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood that he may die. Thine eye shall not pity him, but thou shalt put away the guilt of innocent blood from Israel, that it may go well with thee. Thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thine inheritance, which thou shalt inherit in the land that the Lord thy God giveth thee to possess it. So you see how this is literally court, right? If somebody kills a brother or sister maliciously and then tries to go into this city where they can flee and stay alive, the elders are supposed to find out about it, judge the matter righteously, and then turn that person over to the avenger of blood so that he can be killed. Otherwise, innocent blood was shed in Israel for no reason. And now, if innocent blood is shed in Israel, now we get cursed by the Most High. Now he's angry at that. All right, verse 15. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin, in any sin that he sinneth. At the mouth of two witnesses or at the mouth of three witnesses shall the matter be established. And by the way, that's the verse I was looking for earlier. That's the verse I quoted. Verse 16. If a false witness rise up against any man to testify against him that which is wrong, then both the men between whom the controversy is shall stand before Yahweh, before the priests and the judges, which shall be in those days, and the judges shall make diligent inquisition. And behold, if the witness be a false witness, and hath testified falsely against his brother, then shall ye do unto him as he had thought to have done unto his brother. So shalt thou put the evil away from among you. Does anybody need to explain that? Who knows where this comes from? What law is this?
Thou shalt not bear false witness.
There you go. Simple, plain and simple. This is what it means to bear false witness. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Verse 20. And those which remain shall hear and fear, and shall henceforth commit no more any such evil among you. Now, verse 20, again, we've seen this before in 17 and verse 13. Right? It's to make an example of this person so that no one else will want to do this. No one else will want to bear false witness if they think about how that pertains to it, how beneficial that would be nowadays if we kept this law. How much of a benefit would this be if we knew that lying on one of our brothers and sisters would get us killed? If it ever came out that you lied, right? That you would be killed for that. Think about how upright we would be with one another. Did you see such and such? Nah, I didn't see it. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I just didn't see it. Because if I become a false witness and I say, yeah, I seen him do it, and it comes out that I'm lying, no. How beneficial would that be to our community if we just kept just this one law? Because it's by 2 or 3 witnesses shall a matter be established. By 2 or 3 witnesses shall a person be put to death. But if you know better, you know that if I'm lying and it finds out that I'm lying, you can't coerce me to lie. You can't bribe me to lie. Nah, I ain't trying to die for none of this. This would be amazing for us. Verse 21. Verse 21. And thine eye shall not pity, but life shall go for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Basically, that's just saying, like, if you lie for somebody, if you lie and they lose their life, then you need to lose your life. If you lie on a person and they lose their eye, then you need to lose your eye. If they lose their foot, you need to lose your foot or your hand for hand. That's what that's talking about. That's the end of verse 19. Anybody have any questions about 19? Or comments? Okay, on chapter 20. Deuteronomy chapter 20 and verse 1. When thou goest out to battle against thine enemies and seest horses and chariots and a people more than thou, be not afraid of them, for Yahweh thy Elohim is with thee. which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And it shall be, when ye are come nigh to the battle, that the priest shall approach and speak unto the people, and shall say unto them, Hear, O Israel, ye approach this day unto battle against your enemies. Let not your hearts faint. Fear not, and do not tremble, neither be ye terrified because of them. For Yahweh your Elohim is he that goeth with you to fight for you against your enemies to save you. Okay, verse 4. Verse 4. This is a clear definite. This is one of like the clearest definitions of salvation that I can find in the scripture. This is what it means to be saved. So we can tie that with Luke chapter 1, let's start at verse 68. Luke chapter 1 and verse 68. Yes. Luke chapter 1 and verse 68. And we'll read through verses 71. It says, Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of Israel. And actually, this is blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and have raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. So if anyone wants to know what salvation is, Luke tells you that salvation is when he saves us from our enemies and from the hands of all they that hate us. When you go in the book of Deuteronomy and you get to, where is it, 20 and, where did it go? 4, 20 and 4. He's telling you the same thing, that the Most High is going to fight with you against your enemies to save you. That's what salvation is. It's when you are saved from your enemies, when they are no longer a threat, when they can no longer do you any harm, when you are in the place where the Most High wants you to be, not just physically, but spiritually as well. That's what salvation is. So you can highlight that, put a star next to it, and write somewhere in there, salvation. Verse 5. And the officers shall speak unto the people, saying, What man is there that hath built a new house, and hath not dedicated it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man dedicate it. And what man is he that hath planted a vineyard, and hath not yet eaten of it? Let him also go and return into his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man eat of it. And what man is there that hath betrothed the wife, and hath not taken her? Let him go and return into his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man take her. And the officers shall speak further unto the people, and they shall say, What man is there that is fearful and faint-hearted? Let him go and return into his house, lest his brethren's heart faint as well as his heart. Where have we seen an example of this? 5, 6, 7, and 8. Where have we seen an example of this? Where, I don't want to give it away, but where the Most High is weeding out an army to go fight. I think I may have given it away.
That was Gideon, wasn't it?
That was Gideon. The Most High weeded out the army of Gideon at that time. He says, let any of the people who are left-handed or something like that. And he says, anybody who bends down to drink from the brook and they lap the water like a dog, send them home. Anybody who drinks from their hand, then the ones you keep. Not the ones who drink from their hands. Any of them musicians, I want the musicians. Anybody whose profession is anything other than a musician, send them home. Right? This is where that came from. I keep saying that the Most High is very repetitive, and it's not that he's changing the message. He's not changing the message. He's not even changing the method. It's us who are changing. He's keep doing the same thing over and over again. So this is where that comes from. This is the framework where Gideon got, well, the Most High was giving it to Gideon, but this is the framework where that comes from. Verse 9. And it shall be, when the officers have made an end of speaking unto the people, that they shall make captains of the armies to lead the people. When thou comest nigh unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it. And it shall be, if it make thee answer of peace, and open unto thee, then it shall be that all the people that is found therein shall be tributaries unto thee, and they shall serve thee. All right. I want you guys to highlight this right here. Highlight verses 10 and 11. The precept for verses 10 and 11 is Isaiah chapter 14. I believe it's 1 and, is it 1 and 2 or 1 through 4? Isaiah chapter 11. Wait, no. I'm sorry. Isaiah chapter 14. Yes. It's as the precept for this is Isaiah 14, 1 through 3. Right? This is what that's going into. If a city is, if we're going to possess a city, because that's what we're talking about in the book of Deuteronomy, the children of Israel are getting ready to go and take this battle to these 7 nations to go and possess the land of Canaan. He says, if you offer them peace and they take peace, he says that they shall be given unto you as tributaries. What does that mean?
Tokens.
Yes, it literally servants placed under tribute. What does it mean to be placed under tribute? And what do you mean by tokens?
Gifts.
Huh?
Offerings, gifts.
Yes, yes. Also, when somebody is made tribute to you or they are made your tributary, they pay you tribute. They pay you taxes. This is why when we get to the verse, when Christ is talking to the disciples and he says, well, and he's talking to the Pharisees and they say, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. That was tribute. He was paying tribute unto Caesar. He was paying taxes unto Caesar. He was giving what belongs to him. At that time, the Most High had given the children of Israel as tribute. They were tributaries, or they were under. At that point, it was the Romans. They were under the Roman Empire. They're under the Greco-Roman Empire at that time. This is why they were paying tribute. They were paying taxes to them because you are under them. You are in their captivity right now. They are your oppressors. This is what is happening right here. If you go to fight a people, if one of these nations, and you offer them peace and they take it, they are now tributary to you. You are now their possessors. They are your servants and they pay taxes and homage and offerings unto you. And verse 12. So Deuteronomy 20 and 12. And if it will make no peace with thee, but will make war against thee, then thou shalt besiege it. And when Yahweh thy Elohim hath delivered it into thine hands, thou shalt smite every male thereof with the edge of the sword. Now, this is something that you got to hear. In the previous scenario, when the other nation accepts peace and they become tributaries to you, they don't kill the males. They don't kill anybody. If they accept peace with you and become your tributary, there's no need to kill them. They understand their position. They understand their place. They understand what role they play in this. This is the very reason why we get to the scripture when Christ blessed that Syrophoenician woman and her child. And she said, truly, master, the dogs do eat from the crumbs of the children's table. She understood her place. She understood where she was and what her role was to the children of Israel. She understood that they were supposed to be tributaries to the children of Israel. They weren't at the time, though. But she knew that and she understood that. And that's why he blessed her. It wasn't just because he wanted to show, oh, no, blessings over everybody. No, no. In this context, you have to understand this. If these other nations agree to be your servants, and to agree to be your handmaids and your maidservants and all of that, and they understand their position, then there's no need to kill them. There's no need to fight. You know where you belong. You stay there and we have an amicable agreement. As soon as you come out of pocket, though, we're going to kill you. So in verse, where do we stop? 14. No, I'm sorry, we stopped at, yeah, we're at 14. But the women and the little ones and the cattle and all that is in the city, even all the spoil thereof, shalt thou take unto thyself, and thou shalt eat the spoil of thine enemies, which Yahuwah thy Elohim hath given thee. Thus shalt thou do unto all the cities which are very far off from thee, which are not of the cities of these nations. Stop right here. Are we talking about this is funny. Are we talking about the Jebusites, the Girgashites, the Hittites, and all of those people?
But those are the people we had to remove. We had to fight and kill before we can get the land.
Which people? What are you talking about?
The Jebusites and all those guys.
Oh yeah, those ones, we were to utterly destroy those people. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about them. We were supposed to destroy them and kill. Matter of fact, he's going to say it. We were supposed to kill all of them. These are the cities that are not included in those 7 nations that we're supposed to go in and attack and kill. These were other cities that we were taking over on the way. This is how you know it was. This is how you're supposed to know that the children of Israel, Deuteronomy 7:3, or 7:6, 7:6, Deuteronomy 7:6. This is how you know that the children of Israel, it wasn't just supposed to be these 7 nations. No, we were supposed to rule the world. The world is supposed to be under our righteous rule. The operative word is righteous. 7:6. For thou art an holy people unto Yahuwah thy Elohim. Yahuwah thy Elohim have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Not some, not most, not the majority of, but all people. In our righteousness, we are supposed to rule the world. Case in point is right here in Deuteronomy 20. When you go to take over, I'm giving you these 7 nations. You're going to kill everybody there. But everywhere else that you go, on the way there, and even some of these places that ain't on the way there, because he says far off from you. That's the entirety of the world. When you go and take over these other places, this is what you offer them. Be at peace with us, or we're going to kill you. This is how you know that we're supposed to take over. We're not in a way where we're like tyrants or anything like that. No, but this is the plan that the Most High had. We are supposed to rule the world. That's a wonderful thing. And I don't know if everybody's ready for that, but prayerfully, I am. So verse 16. But of the cities of these people, which Yahuwah thy Elohim doth give thee for an inheritance, thou shalt save alive nothing that breatheth. These people are your enemies. These 7 nations that you're about to go attack, these are your enemies. These other nations that are out here, they are not all necessarily your enemies, meaning they are trying to hurt you, but these people are your enemies. They ain't gonna make peace. This is your land, this is your inheritance. Everything that's in their land, kill it. Verse 17, but thou shalt utterly destroy them, namely the Hittites and the Amorites, the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, as Yahuwah thy Elohim have commanded thee, that they teach you not to do after all their abominations which they have done unto their gods. So should ye sin against Yahuwah your Elohim. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 10, starting at verse 1. And it reads, hear ye the word which Yahuwah speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth the tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. These are the customs that are vanity from the heathens that the Most High told us not to learn. This is why we were to destroy everything in these other nations. Because if you didn't destroy them, you could end up learning their customs. And their customs are abominations to the Most High. And if we are doing those abominations, what are some examples of those customs that we should not have learned?
Christmas first.
Christmas is one. That's definitely what's happening right there in Jeremiah 10. That's Christmas. I don't care what anybody says. That's Christmas. What are some other ones?
Sacrificing your children to gods.
Absolutely. That's another one.
All these holidays.
Any of these pagan holidays, you're absolutely right. How about not keeping the commandments? Not keeping the commandments is an abomination that we learned from these other nations. How did we learn this from the other nations? They don't have the commandments. They don't know how to keep them. So when we start doing the things that they do by not keeping the commandments, that's an abomination to the Most High. And that is something that will keep us away from him. Don't you just hate how simple that is? Verse 19. When thou shalt besiege a city a long time in making war against it to take it, thou shalt not destroy the trees thereof by forcing an axe against them, for thou mayest eat of them, and thou shalt not cut them down, for the tree of the field is man's life, to employ them in the siege. Only the trees which thou knowest that they be not trees for meat, thou shalt destroy and cut them down, and thou shalt build bulwarks against the city that maketh war with thee until it be subdued. All right, so in verse 19, when it says, for the tree of the field is man's life, just so we're not confused, it's talking about like fruit trees that you can eat. Because when you're besieging a city, you're going to need food, right? And you're not bringing a year's worth of food with you to a battle. You got trees around, you got fruit trees. That doesn't just include like orange trees and apple trees, things like that, but that is also talking about trees of the field, like tomato plants and pineapples and whatever else grows in the crop, carrots and corn and all that stuff. That goes into that as well. During the time that you're at war, keep all of these so that you can eat. That's where your life comes from the food. You need to be able to eat, to have strength to fight. And then after you've besieged them, destroy all of that. All of that gets burnt. All of that gets destroyed. That's the end of 20. Anybody have any questions about 20? Or comments? Oh, man. Okay. So does anybody have any questions or comments about anything of any of the chapters that we did in this Torah portion today?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So in 20, which you just finished,
Yes.
20 basically says, only the trees which you know of are not trees for food. Do destroy and cut them down. So I know they knew back then, so how would we know now what trees he's referring to?
So that would be like, I guess it depends on the time of year, right? So, you know, if you walk up on an apple tree in the fall, right? I'm not good at recognizing trees by the bark yet. Like I can do some trees like oak tree and maple tree, I can do by the leaves and stuff. But if it don't have any leaves on it and you don't know what kind of tree that is and you can't recognize it, that might be hard. But if you walk up on a tree and you see that it literally has fruit on it, then you know that that's a tree for fruit. Like you can, like in the springtime or in the summertime, you'll see, you know that a walnut tree has these little green balls on it. You know that those are walnuts. You see a peach tree, you know it's a peach tree. You know those, like literally, you know the trees that have food on them. It's not necessarily. So like the trees that aren't for food, you would have to know the difference between what trees you can eat from and what trees you can't. right? I think I'm answering the question right.
That makes sense. Because certain trees grow a certain time of the year in certain regions.
Uh-huh.
Certain trees do not.
Yes.
Or as the fruit or food.
Yes. So you gotta know some of that, right? You have to know some agriculture. And I employ everybody to learn that, like to learn what kind of trees you can eat. Even like there's books out that tell you like some of the things that we see in our yard that we think are weeds. Like some of
Right.
that's actually edible and can be used for medicinal purposes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and I took a class. Well, Jania finished the class. I had to stop. There are different types of ground coverings in your yard that you don't know that are actually edible.
yes.
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 So you're correct about that.
That's knowledge that we have lost, right? Or that we are, I ain't say we've lost it, we're losing it because we don't exercise it, right? My grandfather used to make dandelion wine. I was like, you can't eat dandelions. Yeah, you can. And if you look it up, dandelions are a great source of like calcium and some other things that you need. So like if you just take dandelions, steep them in some hot water and drink the tea or drink the liquid, it's really good. It helps boost your immune system and all kinds of things. Vitamin
Yes.
C, I think.
This know is for your health. Yeah.
It's a lot of that stuff that you look out and be like, man, get this crap out of my yard. It's that stuff is very good for you and you should be using. So these are things. This is how you know that we're talking about in 20s, not just talking about like trees. It's things that we have to know, like from the plants and from different crops and stuff like that. You need to know it when you see it. My son tells me all the time, like, Daddy, there's certain mushrooms that grow that you can eat. And I'm like, don't be out there eating mushrooms because some of them are poisonous. They don't play with them. You mess around, eat a mushroom, and find you laid out in the yard foaming at the mouth. Don't do that. So those are things that's knowledge and information that we need to relearn or make sure we don't lose it. So yeah, that's a good question.
If you buy that bag of salad from the grocery store, that spring mix or one of them things, if you dump that thing out, it just looks like a bag full of weeds. And some of that stuff used to grow in our backyard and we were living in the Northeast. It did.
I agree. I see that bag and I'm like, I know I cut some of that stuff in my yard with the lawnmower. Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions and comments about the Torah portion? Okay. Okay. So with that being said, go ahead and